So when I was 17, I auditioned for American Idol Season 5. I was a big fan of the show and an aspiring pop star, so of course I waited several years until I was old enough to audition. My dad went with me for moral support and we drove up to Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts. We had to go a day early to get wristbands, so we aimed to get there at 5 a.m. And it was pouring, of course. But we spent pretty much that whole day waiting online. I met Dave Azer, who was working for American Idol at the time, but I knew him from Slime Time Live on Nickelodeon, so I was especially excited. Also, there was this guy a little ways ahead of us in line who brought this giant tarp and got everyone around him to hold the tarp up with their umbrellas. It was pretty cool. Everyone called him Tarp Guy, and eventually I got to see that tarp on television because it was in the time-lapse footage of the line. Eventually we got our wristbands, which told us where to sit in the stadium, and then they told us basically what would happen the next day. We had originally planned to camp there overnight, but since we already had our wristbands and we were really wet and cold from the rain, we ended up just staying with my aunt and uncle nearby instead. On audition day, we got back there super early to make sure that we could get back in our seats. People were really excited. Everywhere we went, people were singing loudly. In the bathroom, singing. In the line for the concession stand, singing. In their seats in the stadium, still singing. The guy who was sitting in front of me stood up and serenaded me at one point, and my 17-year-old heart melted. People started doing Disney sing-alongs. Cameras were filming everyone doing Singin' in the Rain. Did I mention it was still raining? There's no roof on that stadium. Everyone put on their best clothes, hair, and makeup for the TV cameras, and we all looked like drowned rats by 7 a.m. And everyone around me was probably losing their voices by belting out all of those songs for hours. Eventually they started calling people down by section, and they would go down to the field where there was like this line of tents set up. We learned that the tents were full of producers and not the judges that you see on TV. And you'd have to make it through a few more rounds of producers before you could even be invited back to the filmed auditions, which were a couple months later. We would occasionally see people getting through, going to the right, and waving their golden tickets in the air. But pretty much everyone went to the left, heads hanging until they were out of the stadium. We also noticed that most of the people who were making it through were wearing ridiculous costumes. Later in the day, it was my section's turn to go. I was given a tent number and we lined up in groups. I got to listen to the group ahead of us as well. You'd sing a few bars, then the person next to you would sing a few bars until everybody in your group has had a turn. And the producers separate out the ones that they want to keep and send everyone else home. It was really quick and they didn't really give any comments at all. I kind of expected this already, but American Idol is notorious for finding some of the worst singers in the country and making fun of them on television. And somehow all of them seem to think that they're totally amazing. You know why that is? They put through the good singers, but they also put through the really bad ones. Through many rounds of auditions. They fluffed their egos for months only to knock them down on television. And in the group ahead of me, there was a bad one. So the producers asked her to step forward, everyone else left, and I heard them telling her that she had a unique quality to her voice. She was so happy, she turned around, squealed, and hugged a bunch of us. You can guess how that story ends. They embarrassed her on television. Next, it was my group's turn. I sang a little of Take Me or Leave Me from Rent. My dad cried. They thanked us all for coming, and they sent my whole group home. Honestly, I wasn't upset at all that I didn't make it. I wanted to go home and put on dry clothes. Also, I'm really glad that they didn't think I was bad enough to make fun of. In general, I'm glad that I had the experience, but I will probably never try out for another reality show again. I really prefer to perform my own original music and have total control over my image anyway. But at the very least, it's a fun story to tell. Have you ever auditioned for a reality TV show? If you haven't, what show would you audition for? Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.